Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mysteries and Oddities video. Well, as promised, I went ahead and I made this first video here dedicated to the fact of my brand new series, like branching out into more trivial items, more stuff that makes you wonder exactly why is that so? Why is this something this way and not another way? How did this come about to be? Something like that. So in this case, it was going to be about the donuts. This is where the Mystery and Oddities is. It makes and in this case, it's why do donuts have that hole within the middle of them? It's a mystery because it makes you wonder when you think about it. Why is that so? Like, it's the only food of its kind that seems to have that particular trait. Nothing else comes to mind that has it. I'm sure there's probably some obscure ones out there, but as far as more of a traditional mainstream food, it's the only one that has that particular thing. And so, in looking at the info, I was surprised at how it came to be, and then still the mystery surrounding it, because even to this day the most concrete quote-unquote answer still in of itself is not 100% true. Like some people still debate that the origins of the donut having the hole in the middle based on this most concrete answer is not so. Like, it's still something else entirely different. But yes, let's go ahead, let's talk about this particular mystery involving why the donuts have holes straight in the middle of them. So first off, just a brief history on the donut itself. It's a food obviously that's been around for a long time. In this case though, as to the whereabouts, like how it came to be, exactly what year it came to be, that's still up for debate. The most common theme seems to be that it was originated sometime in the early 19th century, and in some cases brought over by Dutch settlers, maybe up towards North America. The closest example of this, there seems to be a cookbook that mentioned donuts back in 1803. This was some kind of English volume that in its appendix of American recipes seem to include the notion of donuts. So that's probably the closest you have to some kind of early, very early written article involving the history or the earliest known instance of the donut itself. Now, whether the donut looked like today's donuts or whether it had tasted, in other words, like today's donuts, it seems like that's the case, but that's still up for debate as far as its origin. Even the word donuts apparently was found in another book, this time even earlier in 1800, and it was spelled as D-O-W, and then there's a space, and then it's N-U-T-S. So it still sounded like donuts, but in this case it was spelled much more phonetically than what it's spelled today. It makes you wonder too, like, why exactly does it have the word nuts? If you're wondering that, it's because apparently the instructions there included having something called a Hertfordshire nut within the cooking instructions. So that seems to also be the classic case of where the nut portion came from involving donuts. Clearly, no, like today's donuts don't seem to have any nuts in them, unless I guess they're requested that way. Instead, they're just more on the lines of the sugary dough that you and the glazed portion on top that you and I know of. But for the longest time, it seemed like they were just cooked as is. Like, there was no portion in the middle like we know of today missing. It seems like they were also placed on some kind of long stick. Like, there was a stick that was used to put them within the fryer or to place them into some kind of I guess cooking pan, cooking oven, whatever is the case, or in some cases they were twisted onto some kind of contraption, and then that way they would cook around them. But the notion was they were still not cooked too well. In fact, they were called fried cakes, and in other places called twisters because of this. But lo and behold, cut to this guy, a guy who apparently is the father of the donut, but that's still up for debate as to truly if he was or not. He certainly claims that he created the donut, and up until his dying days it appears like he was one that was taking all the credit for it. Whether he truly was the one who invented it or not, there doesn't seem anybody else that has gone forward with it. But I'm talking about Hanson Gregory, who was an American seafarer or sailor who's self-claiming inventing the donut hole back in 1847. Here's how he described it. Apparently he was aboard some some kind of ship that he was crossing at the time, a lime trading ship. Very young at that time too, just 16 years old. And the way he tells the story, although keep in mind that this story has been altered throughout other portions of his life, the way he tells the story though was he was there just minding his business, trying to take care of the donut, when he was finding that it wasn't necessarily, or as he called it, a fried cake, wasn't necessarily cooking consistently. Like the outsides were definitely cooking, but not the inside. Every time he put it into the fryer, the outside would definitely cook, but because there was nothing even on the inside cooking as well, he would either A, have to leave it there longer, but it risked having the outside cook, in this case burnt, to go to a burnt status, or B, leaving the outside cooked evenly, but then having that raw, doughy inside that he didn't like. So it seems like he took one single idea, and in this case punched a hole right in the middle of the fried cake, and when he did so, he tested it out, and then he realized, lo and behold, that the insides were cooking in as evenly as the outside. And it does kind of make sense when you think about it. I mean, when you put anything into the fryer, whatever the fryer touches first, in this case the edges of whatever is cooking, those are the ones that are going to be cooked first. So it seems like this is truly what was a most practical application towards cooking this donut. But that's his history. That's how he stated it. Things have been changed though, like I mentioned earlier. Like in other stories, he claimed that he was actually telling or informing his mother as far as how to cook it, and then that's how the story came about. And then it seems like in other versions of it, there's other people that have placed, I guess, credit for it. And then he, in turn, just simply, I guess, saw it somewhere, or in other cases, just took credit for it. Whatever is the situation, his, though, seems to be the one that is the most consistent one as far as how this the middle of it came out to be. And it worked. Once he came over, in this case, to the U.S., and and they were cooking it, I guess others started to take that idea and then they ran off with it. Because to this day, as far as I can tell, unless someone can point it out to me, there doesn't appear to be any kind of trademark associated with that application. I don't know, can you truly trademark it? I know in some cases, like in foods, like the recipes for certain things, like the Kentucky Fried Chicken, a famous recipe, or in drinks involving Coca-Cola, that stuff can definitely be trademarked. But can you actually trademark something involving a food or copyright a food as far as how it cooks? If that's the case, and someone has, then please post those comments below. But if someone hasn't, then that'd be interesting to hear. But if he truly did it or not, it's up to debate. But and again, I mentioned those early other examples involving two recipes earlier than him mentioning those donuts, but whether they were truly the notion of them having the middle part of it missing or not, that still is up for debate as well. But that's it. That's pretty much all the information tied to, in this case, this mystery. Why do donuts have the middle portion of them with that hole? Not really. It's trivial stuff, like I was mentioning earlier. It's not something that's going to rock the world in terms of like a realization or anything like that. But if you've ever wondered exactly why that is, that would be really good to share. And then now you know essentially the answer for it. Donuts, of course, are very popular to this day within anywhere you go. I remember there was a time too where it seemed like Dunkin' Donuts was everywhere back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's weird how times change, because nowadays donuts still sell, but it seems it's definitely not like the traditional donut. It's more like the croissant. It's more like the delicatessen type bagels, whatever there are. I don't really eat that stuff because in my case, if I eat anything too sweet, it makes me sick. I can't even eat like half a cookie without feeling sick afterward. So I don't know how other people do it, but in this case, the donuts have definitely taken off. Too bad this guy wasn't able to try to put anything, this guy Gregory, towards applying a copyright or a trademark. If he even did, who knows, because he could have definitely enjoyed something in terms of rich royalties from it. But otherwise, that's all the information really tied to it. So alright everybody, thanks again as always, take care.